All right, folks, if you're looking to buy something online and you want to support the Steve Austin Show, here's what you got to do. Go to podcast1.com and click on the Steve Austin Show. Look for the Amazon banner and click. Doing that gets you to the same Amazon place you normally go, but with a bonus. Amazon kicks back a small percentage of the sale to help support the show. That means more Steve and fewer ads to pay for doing this. Plus, you don't pay any extra for anything. Same Amazon, same prices. Now, I'm not telling you to go buy something here. I'm just saying that when you do decide to go Amazon shopping, go to podcast1.com and click the Amazon banner right there on my page, The Steve Austin Show. You can just click the banner, then save the URL as your Amazon page. It's that easy. Then, every time you shop Amazon, you'll be helping the Steve Austin Show climb to the top of the podcast mountain. Thank you very much for supporting the cause.
The following program is a podcast1.com production.
From Hollywood, California, by way of the Broken Skull Ranch and an occasional side trip to Mexico, this is the Steve Austin Show.
Give me a hell yeah.
Hell yeah. Now, from the OnIt.com Total Human Optimization Studio, here's Steve Austin.
All right, everybody, this is Steve Austin. Welcome to the SAS. This is my first show back in the Los Angeles studio, and I'll be damned. When I first moved to Los Angeles about 10 years ago, as I was driving in, I saw this big fucking ball of smog hanging over the city, and I was thinking to myself, what the fuck am I getting myself into? Well, fast forward 10 years down the road as I'm flying back into this motherfucker from Mexico and I see that big ball of smog, I breathed a sigh of relief. I was happy to be going back to this big shithole. Back to the land of no blinkers, people texting while driving. I risk life and limb trying to get this motherfucker to try to pump out quality audio entertainment for anybody with enough guts to listen to this motherfucker. I got a damn good episode today. I'll be talking to one of my best friends from the business of professional wrestling, my old partner, my old travel partner, Kevin Nash. Before I let into Kevin Nash and unleash him on the world, I'm going to take care of a little bit of business right here. Check it out. All right, guys, you guys have heard me talking about all these amazing supplements I've been taking, but here's the deal. If you haven't already, you need to get some for yourself at onit.com/Steve. Don't forget the /Steve part. When you go to onit.com/Steve, you not only get the best supplements on earth, you get 10% off. You save money and help keep this show free for everybody. But I know what some of you are thinking. You're thinking, well, hell, Steve, I'm already too smart as it is. I don't need that alpha brain. Or maybe my body is a physical specimen like a redneck Adonis. I don't need to work out with that Shroom Tech Sport to lift those kettlebells. Well, that's all well and good. But if you're over 25, you need to boost your testosterone. So go to onit.com/Steve. You're going to get 10% off one of the safest, healthiest, and most effective ways to help your body boost testosterone ever created. Right now by going to onit.com/Steve and putting some T Plus in your cart. This stuff's going to make you feel like a damn teenager again. You can see how it works at onit.com/Steve, but what you really need to do is feel what it does. You're going to put on muscle easier, going to have more energy, motivation, more motivation than you can imagine, and anything with two legs and a pair of tits you see walking by in your flagpole is going to be at full-ass salute. And I ain't kidding about that. And if it doesn't happen like that, you can get all your money back. No questions asked. So go to onit.com/Steve. That's ONNIT.com/Steve. Get your 10% discount off T Plus and your entire order and help support this show. That's ONNIT.com/Steve. Be sure to put in the /Steve to get your discount. I love me some onit.com/Steve. Check it out. I'm really excited to be back in the studio today because you guys have heard about all the hassles and horse shit I had trying to do this damn show from Mexico with no technology skills. So now that I'm back in the studio, I got a little quality time and I ain't got to worry about pushing buttons and fucking a bunch of shit up. I'm excited to talk to my old buddy Kevin Nash. Now, I first met Kevin at Center Stage in downtown Atlanta back in the days. Hell, it might have been 91. And when I first saw this sumbitch at 6'10" and 350 pounds, the first thought in my head was not like, hey, I bet this is going to be one funny motherfucker. It wasn't that. Because back in the day, Kevin kind of had that 1,000-yard stare going, and he had the shoulders that looked like gigantic cantaloupes and 23-inch guns. And when you see a pile of human monstrosity like that, the last thing you think is, this is going to be a funny motherfucker. You think, I don't want to fuck with this crazy son of a bitch. So anyway, I went over and shook hands, and we started talking, and then we started laughing like a sumbitch and pretty much became friends straight right from the start. So check it out. Here's Kevin's career. Between WWE, WCW, and TNA, Kevin has won a total of 21 championships. He is a 6-time world champion, a 5-time WCW World Heavyweight Champion, and 1-time WWF Champion. Although he has only had one reign as WWF Champion, Kevin is recognized by WWE as the longest reigning WWF Champion of the 90s and the 10th longest reigning of all time, having held the title for 358 days. He has achieved notable success in the tag team division as well, being a 12-time World Tag Team Champion, a 9-time WCW World Tag Team Champion, a 2-time WWF World Tag Team Champion, and 1-time TNA World Tag Team Champion. Let me take a fucking break. He is also a 1-time WWF Intercontinental Champion and a 2-time TNA Legends Champion. In addition to championships, he won the 1998 WCW World War III. Nash was a member of the Clique. We're going to talk about the Clique real quick, a group which included Shawn Michaels, Triple H, Scott Hall, and Sean Waltman. He's also one of the 3 founding members of the New World Order, which we're damn sure going to talk about along with Hulk Hogan and Scott Hall. Without any further ado, Kevin, welcome to the Steve Austin Show, brother. How are you?
Hey, welcome home.
Goddamn, I'm glad to be home. I need to go take a drink of water, a walk, and a piss after reading all your accolades.
I tell you, man, that's what happens when you had the pencil half your career.
Hey, you'll book yourself into a hell of a situation. Hey, man, we shot the shit a couple of days ago, and I've been wanting to have you on the show ever since I started this thing, and we're still fresh, up and running, and all that other horse shit, but I want to talk about a bunch of shit that happened in the business, but right now, let's talk about the here and now. How you feeling? What are you up to? How's the carcass holding up?
I feel rotten. I mean, I'm beat up to shit, but...
Well, don't beat around the bush. How are you really feeling? God damn.
I want to get some of that fucking testosterone replacement shit. I'll be happy with my shit at half mass.
Are you feeling rough? Talk to me.
Well, sooner or later I'll die and it'll be over with. But I guess
that's my buddy Kevin Nash. Always looking at the glass like it's half full. That's always a solution to every problem. So you're not feeling good, you're pissed off, you're moving a little sluggish this morning. I'm full of goddamn energy. How's the wheels? You goddamn got that big-ass fucking upper body. Your wheels got so many damn leg surgeries. How's the wheels coming on?
Good. Just train high volume now.
Backing off on the poundage, trying to keep those joints good?
Yeah, I mean, my last workout, I ended up 14 plates on the leg press for 20 reps.
And let me guess, you did 14 wheels on the leg press and your shoulders grew.
My shoulders grow no matter what.
I know, you're the goddamn only person on earth that go work legs and get his shoulders to grow. Fancy that. I can fucking look at a goddamn squat bar, my legs would get big, but my shoulders ain't worth a flying shit.
The beauty of genetics.
Yeah. You know, Rick Rude always had that badass physique, great, you know, capped off deltoids, jacks, the whole 9 yards, but his wheels wasn't up to snuff. But he used to always tell me as we rode down the road, he'd go, "For fuck's sake, Steve, it's an upper body business." And he was right.
Damn right.
Well, you had some bone chips removed out of your elbows. How's that going for you?
That made a difference. That was kind of a constant, a 2-year pain that was alleviated by finally a surgeon, you know, getting in there and cleaning that out. I think my rotator cuffs got some tears in it.
But here's the bottom line for all guys. As you come out of the racket that we come out of, you beat to shreds, you're happy about it, you had a great run. Does your dick still get hard?
Oh, yeah.
Well, see, you got that going for you. Then everything else just kind of falls in line after that, because when that shit is over, that's kind of when, you know, things ain't so fucking great.
Shit, when that's over, it's time to put a bullet in your head.
Easy. We can talk about that later as well. Hey, you know what? I want to take these before you and me take a trip down memory lane. I want to go back because I was reading about you before we did this interview, and I've known your ass for a long ass time. We met over at Center Stage, but before you got into business, you were in college. You were at the University of Tennessee, and you, if my sources are correct, you were majoring in psychology and minoring in educational philosophy. Is that correct?
That's correct.
No, you're known as being one of the smarter guys that's ever been in the business. I was reading an article about you several months ago, and those motherfuckers that wrote that thing said you had an IQ of $160. Was that a work or was that a shoot?
I mean, I've actually had it like tested at 140, 146.
Pretty goddamn smart. So let me go back to your majoring in psychology and minoring in educational philosophy. What the fuck were you going to do with that? Because did you get a degree?
No.
Okay.
I got thrown out of school.
I want to get to that.
I was on track.
Okay, but majoring in psychology, what were your goals back then? At that time, what were you going to do with your life?
I had no idea. I mean, I wanted to play basketball. That was it.
But how'd you pick the psychology thing? I mean, it could have been anything, but why psychology?
I was smart enough to be able to get a syllabus and grab a textbook, and then, you know, the lectures were on microfilm back then, so it was pretty much I could pretty much not go to class and get a high C, which kept me eligible to play on the basketball team. So it was the easiest path to, path of least resistance to stay eligible, get good enough grades to, not have anybody climbing up my ass and, not have me, in extra tutors and going to study halls, all that shit. So it was just easy for me.
So let's talk about basketball for a second. How tall are you right now?
God, Steve, right now I'm probably barefoot, maybe 6'9.5".
6'9.5", 7'8" with the fro. When you were in high school, when you graduated from high school, how tall were you then?
About 6'11.25".
Gravity's a motherfucker, ain't it? So you're 6'11.25". When you came out of high school, are you widely recruited? Could you have gone anywhere in the United States you wanted to go? Because you ended up going to Tennessee.
Yeah, I could have went anywhere. I could have went, anywhere on the West Coast. I could have went anywhere in the ACC. I could have went to any Big Ten school. I had 200-some offers.
Well, god dang, dude. I mean, well, with that being said, how do you end up going to the University of Tennessee? I mean, you're a cat out of Michigan, Detroit. What was it about Tennessee that drew you to that program?
I wanted to get out of the state of Michigan.
Gotcha.
So I just wanted, and I wanted to go someplace. I wanted to go as far away from the snow as I could. but at the same time, I still wanted my mom,
Right.
and, to be able to see me. And, Knoxville's about 500 miles, which is about as far as, somebody can possibly, make a trip on a weekend, come on, leave Friday and then go, and go back after the game on Saturday. That was kind of like the radius we were looking at, and I went down there, and at the time, there were no pro sports in Tennessee. The Titans didn't exist.
Right.
There were no, so when you played for the University of Tennessee, you pretty much played for the pro team in Tennessee.
Celebrity status.
Yes. So you immediately, if you were, in my case, come basketball season, you were one of the few white boys that got any playing time. You were kind of big man on campus, so it was kind of, shooting ducks in a barrel kind of situation. So.
Well, let's talk about your basketball game. I mean, were you tough in the paint? Were you a rebounding cat? What was your game? Post up?
Yeah, I was. I knew going in that they had plenty of offense. I knew they had Reggie Johnson, who was an all-SEC guy. He was a 6'10" offensive machine. Later on, we got Dell Ellis that played, for 100 years in the NBA, was one of the greatest three-point shooters in the NBA history. So, I knew I basically was going to go in and just kind of play, do the dirty stuff, rebound, play defense. I always covered the toughest, the toughest inside guy they had offensively. I covered McHale. I played against a lot of good guys back in the day.
Well, tell me about your career. Did you play 3 or 4 seasons there?
3.
Okay, 3. You've got an altercation with the coach. How does this break down? What was the situation at hand?
We're playing Kentucky at Kentucky, and that was our Tennessee's big rival.
Gotcha.
And late in the first half, one of our guys got fouled. We went up to the foul line, and back then we had 2 referees, so you didn't have that third referee. So when a referee was handing the guy the ball, and the other referee walked by us to our right-hand side as we were getting set up on the side, for a free throw. Once you saw the one referee, his attention go to hand the guy the ball, and the other guy's back was to you, if you were a cheap shot guy, which I was, and a lot of guys were, and the guy next to me was a guy named Levon Williams, I think was his name. I think it was a Kentucky kid, came out of Denver, about 6'8", 6'7" guy, but good, pretty good body on him, and he was just the same as me, kind of a hatchet guy. And he just, I was starting to have a good game, and then up in Knoxville, I'd scored 10 points like in a row on him. Ended up turning the game around, so they were going to get me out. So the guy elbowed me in the side of the head. I fired back at him, and it kind of had a bench clearing incident. They threw me out of the game. So, my coach, being the genius he was, instead of just leaving me in the locker room, he brings me back for the second half, sits me at the end of the bench, where everybody can give me hell. They're throwing oranges at me, which was a common thing because we were the big orange. They'd throw oranges at us. So, I'm pissed off. I'm sitting there. I can't do anything. We end up losing. We're going back down the locker room, and he comes up to me and gets in my face and says, you happy now, motherfucker? You hothead. You cost us a game. You cost us a game. And I pushed him aside and walked in the locker room. So we got in the locker room. I was sitting down. I was undoing my shoes. He stood right over me and, started shit back up with me, and he just kept saying, you want to hit somebody, hit me. You want to hit, you're so tough. You want to hit somebody, hit me. And I just stood up. I fucking just open hand smacked him right in the fucking head. And
so what'd he do? Did he sell it?
He went down like a bitch. The fucking team looked at me like, what the fuck?
Did he get back up? Did he try to come at you? Had he had enough? What happened?
Oh, yeah. He knew.
He knew. He fucked up. Don't get up.
He knew right then. He said that he brought the Detroit out of that boy. No, he was typical for those guys. But he was a Bobby Knight disciple.
Gotcha.
He was that guy.
So then you get kicked off the team immediately?
No. He got to the point. See, I've always at least had some street smarts. So I immediately got an attorney in town, and I figured, because they told me, he said, you're off the team, and, whatever. I said, whatever. So we went back to Knoxville that night on a charter. The press had already got a hold of it, because when I pushed, I left the locker room, because my girlfriend was a cheerleader at the time, and I left the locker room to go, go grab her and tell her what was up, And when I pushed the locker room door, I pushed 20 reporters away from me. They were all sticking with their ear up against the door, so they heard everything. So it was immediately out. So University of Tennessee knew they had a PR nightmare on their hands because people had seen him grab me in the hallway. On Sunday, I got a call. We met over in the athletic department, athletic director's office, and they said, we got to put this thing at rest. And so me and the coach came on TV and had a press conference and basically said it was just,
misunderstanding
between the old heated exchange between two competitive people.
Heated exchange.
But nothing happened,
So when are you off the team?
No, I finished the season, and we played Florida at home the next game, and I started because any change in the lineup would have meant that I was being punished.
So the season's over. You decide not to come back for the fourth season?
No, it was the spring semester, and we had an RA on our floor that was just an asshole, and he came down and said he smelled weed in my room, and I wasn't doing anything.
Not you.
And he said he wanted to search my room.
Yep.
I said no. He started to come in my room, and I fucking doubled him over with a gut shot and threw him out in the hallway. Well, he went and pressed charges with campus police, and they came, and they were acting like they were going to arrest me, and I told them I didn't put my hands on him. I said, they ain't got a mark on him. So they just pushed him out of my room. I said, you ain't got the right to come in my room.
Patented shot to the drum, no mark, street smart kid.
Nothing.
So then they bounce you out. What happened?
So now it's like I'm on double secret probation.
Yep.
So I've got a black studies class at 6:00 at night on Tuesday, Thursdays, and I'm walking across the middle of campus and I'm smoking a joint, and this girl comes and stands dead in front of my my path.
Yeah.
And just stands there, and I try to walk around her, and she takes and she says, "What is that?" And I said, "What is it?" I said, "You've never seen a joint before?" She said, "I thought so." I said, "What the fuck ever?" And just kept walking by and took a couple more hits, so I could make it through class and put her out for the walk home. So
she narked on you.
Just nothing. No.
So then they kicked you out.
Yeah. they built their case up, and that was the straw.
So that was it. You're out of school on your ass, and then you end up in the European League. Long story short, how was the European League?
Back then, it was I equated it to playing mid-level.
Any dough?
Mid-level college.
Any dough?
Two-ish.
Gotcha.
About $200,000.
Oh, that's good money. Shit, especially back in the day. So you get out of the European League, and you go to the Army. and you get a NATO job.
Yeah.
Before you tell me about the NATO job, I got to take a quick break and take care of some business. Hang in there, Kevin.
All right, buddy.
Hey, you guys tired of your hassles with your current mobile provider? And you got to check out Ting. Ting is mobile that makes sense. With Ting, you select a plan that you think fits how many minutes, text messages, and megabytes you'll need. Then you only pay for what you use. If you come in under the amount, they give you a credit the next month. If you go over, you only pay for the minutes or data you use. At Ting, they never charge you an overage fee or penalty. You can have multiple devices on one plan for just $6 a device. No setup or extra fees. Ting is basically a reseller of the nationwide Sprint network. And Ting has a no-hold customer support. If you call from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. Eastern, a live person will actually pick up the phone and be there to help you. There's no contract to sign either. If you want to cancel, believe it or not, it's easy. Your bill is also easy to read with none of those extra line item costs. Ting also gives you free picture, video messaging, voicemail, call forwarding, and a whole bunch more. Plus, you get a powerful online control panel which helps you monitor and change your account. Just go to steve.ting.com. That's steve.ting.com, or click on the banner on the Steve Austin Show page at podcast1.com. By doing that, you'll save $25 on your first mobile device purchase, or get a $25 credit towards service if you bring your own. Ting. It's mobile that makes sense. Coming back in with Kevin Nash, and he just got a job with NATO. No, just enlisted in the Army and is with NATO. What in the hell were you doing in NATO?
My MOS was 95 Bravo, which is a military policeman. And back then, the number one threat to West Germany was a Soviet attack, which would be a Soviet mechanized attack. I mean, that's how back then, everything was conventional, and they would have to, because we didn't have the tanks or anything to stop that kind of movement. We would, our satellite systems would pick up just, if nothing else, the heat signature of that much armor moving. And we would have, we had, probably 12 to 18 hours to get into position, because they had to go through, there was just only a couple of gaps, in the region there that they could bring it through, and one of them was the Fulda Gap. If anybody, you can just Google Fulda Gap, and it will, you read the whole history on how we, basically were guided to protect that. That was from the 42nd Field Artillery back then, that was like our objective, which I was assigned to. And we would just meet them with everything we had, basically. My job was basically to be at a NATO site and to guard the weapons. So that's what I did for 3 years.
So your time is up. You head back to Detroit. You get a job on the assembly line at Ford. What exactly were you doing?
Putting tires on the right side.
Putting tires on the right side. Now, I know you're a big fan of the Ford Bronco. Both of us have Broncos. Now, is your allegiance or your loyalty to the Blue Oval because you worked there, or you just dig the Bronco?
Well, my dad worked there.
Gotcha.
And my stepdad worked there. I mean, we've all, I pretty much, my entire life was fed by that Blue Oval. So it's just, we're kind of a Ford family.
So you're at the assembly plant, and as I'm reading your wiki page, you end up down in Atlanta bouncing at a titty club. What just gets in your head and says, hey, man, fuck working on the assembly line, I'm heading down to Atlanta? What was the transition? What were you thinking?
Well, what happened was, when I was over in Europe, I blew my knee out. I mean, I fucked it up bad. I did it ACL, PCL, MCL. So I had one operation over there and came back and had another operation, but then all of a sudden it was just like the European team knowing I wasn't going to come back, just they weren't going to pay for anything else, and I wasn't fixed yet. So I had to get on the assembly line and work. I forget what it was, but I think it was 120 or 180 days, whatever it was, to get full insurance. Long story short, I had one guy that I knew I could trust, and I was over by the car's hook on a chain, and I was over messing with this chain, and they started the line back up at lunch, and I acted like I kind of got caught in it and pulled my leg, but it didn't. But I took a bump, and my buddy said, I saw the whole thing, and so I went ahead and milked the system. Real proud of it, and got some free medical and a little workman's comp for my anguish. So while I was rehabbing my knee, a buddy of mine said, "Hey, they got a place down on Michigan Avenue called BT's looking for a bouncer." Working at a strip club there, met some guys from Atlanta that were kind of shifty guys, but they had invited me to come down and work for them down in Atlanta. Ended up that they were being watched by the FBI. Long story short, the FBI raided our office complex, arresting everybody in the process, including myself. They held everybody because they didn't have the brains of the operation. And I was looking at like 5 or 6 counts of wire fraud, 6 or 7 counts of mail fraud. Each one of those was like a 7-year sentence. So it looked like I was going to go down the tubes, but I just kept my mouth shut. I just acted like I didn't know anything. And I just kept telling them that I was muscle. The reason I was there was that they just needed muscle. So finally, I got out of that. They told me they were going to release me. They released me, and they told me the guy that had given me my second summons, a guy named Peter Both, was going to be waiting for me at the end of the steps of this courthouse. I came down, and he was standing there, and he took me in his car over to the Cheetah, and they were looking for a floor manager at the strip club. And I walked in the door, and lo and behold, that was my career for the next, 3 years.
Didn't you get noticed there by somebody that said, "Hey, it's a big son bitch, you ought to get into the business of pro wrestling"? What was your introduction into the business?
Yeah, the boys would, cause it was just, Center Stage was just, maybe 3 miles from there. And Wyndham, I think, was the first one that talked to me. And then I was training at Coffee's Gym in Marietta on Franklin Road. And the Steiners, both Robbie and Scotty, trained there. And Scotty was just kind of breaking in with Robbie, and it was back when it was the NWA.
Yeah.
So they were my buddies, and we were all Michigan guys, and they were trying to push me in, and I ended up going down to Jody Hamilton's school. And
when Jody had that school, was that Power Plant, or was it just Jody's wrestling school?
No, it was just Jody's. Jody's school was in Lovejoy, Georgia. One half of it was Jody's school. On the other half, this Quonset hut was a place that sold carpet remnants.
What was your impression of Jody? I mean, a lot of people, Jody was one half of the Assassins, and Jody and his partner were a hell of a damn tag team, drew a lot of money wherever they went, and Jody was gold on a microphone, one of the most menacing, articulate promos with a message of destruction that would draw money that anybody ever heard. So what was your first impression when you met Jody?
He was, Jody was big. By the time I met him, he was always a big man. But I mean, Jody was heavy. But the thing that amazed me was like he'd get in the ring and he'd run the ropes. I mean, he could still, and he was older, and he was probably 350, but he could motor still. He could still move.
What was it? What was the focus of his teaching with you? Or was it more bumps? I'm sure he wasn't teaching you at your size chain wrestling. So what was the bulk of his training as it pertained to your structure and who you were?
He based everything, on how it was so different back then.
Right.
You can attest to this that they didn't smarten you up for a long time.
No, the business was still real.
Yeah, I mean, the first thing they did was, first day you pay your $1,500. You go down there, you do 500 Hindus, 500 step-ups, push-ups, sit-ups, and run the ropes, and then get somebody in there that's a shooter, and they sugar you.
Pay the dues, go through the routine, learn to respect.
And then there's 8 guys that show up on a Saturday, do that, and then they say, we'll see you guys on Monday. Well, come Monday, the only asshole that walks back in there is me. The rest of them said, fuck this. I went to a football game that Sunday with my wife and couldn't even get to my seat. I could, up and down the stairs at the Falcons game, I couldn't even walk. But I showed up Monday, and they, Jody wasn't even there. One of the other guys was there, and the guy sitting there drinking a beer. And I said, I am here for my training. There's nobody in the facility. So he gets on the phone and basically says, Jody, that big fucker came back. And he's like, all right. So they brought Dwayne Bruce came down, and Jody came down, and we went through some stuff, and they just, the first thing was just lockup. We would lockups for, that day. That's all we did was lockups. And, Dwayne Bruce was probably 5'6", 5'7". So
right.
You imagine that was a good learning session, locking up with a 7-footer. So finally Jody got out there and worked with me, and, Jody just, and lockups were so different back then because they were so sick. The lockup part was so snug, and then you just immediately went to that, work. But it was, that was the first thing they taught you, so it was almost like you thought in your mind, like, oh, this is a shoot.
Damn right. I mean, a lockup is the beginning of any match, and it's one of the most important parts of any match. And, truth be known, and anybody that's in the ring, you set a pace. I mean, you set a tone with that lockup. Hey, you out there to do business? Snap in here, motherfucker. Or is it going to be some lackadaisical, laissez-faire horse shit? A shitty lockup, is a great start to a shitty match.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, it's just, and I'll watch guys. It's every the thing that he that I learned from Jody was that you're not going to have to do as much as anybody else. B, when you do something, make sure it looks good. It's just like lock up, grab that head. I mean, it was such a different business.
Whatever you do, make look good. You ain't got to do a whole lot of anything, but what you do make look good. So you're in there with Jody, you lock it up. Okay, how long were you in the school before you had your first match? I want to jump into your WCW career and get moving here.
First match was probably 8 months. And it was live on the Clash of Champions. It was me and my partner Corey Pendarvis versus Brad Armstrong and Tim Horner.
Okay, so you got that first match. And what did you wrestle that first match under?
I was Master Blaster Steel. I had a fuchsia mohawk.
Well, let's talk about Master Blaster Steel. What was the mindset on creating that character? Did someone just say, hey, Kevin, you're a big motherfucker, let's put a mohawk on you and call you Master Blaster Steel? Did you go home and think, hey, man, let me put this behind this thing, here's the look? How did that all evolve?
Well, the thing was Ole was the booker at the time, and Ole was the one I had the meeting with. And I went to the Cobb County Civic Center and met him. And he, looked at me, and my hair was long. I had long brown hair, and had that like Magnum the Magnum PI mustache. And he said, yeah, I'm thinking about a mohawk. And I'm thinking, and then they offered me, $75,000 for my contract. And I was thinking, fine, so I'm going to cut my hair off and take a pay cut to go do this shit. And I'm like, I said, I wasn't too sure about doing it. And then I talked to my wife. She said, it's time for you to get out of that strip club, because we had some problems there.
Yeah.
Sooner or later you're gonna get shot or stabbed or something in one of those deals. So my wife wanted me out of that shit, not knowing that I'd be leaving one pirate ship to get on a fucking worse one. So I just I said fuck it and went and got my hair done. And I was supposed to look like the dude from the Mad Max movie that had the motorcycle, that had the red mohawk. He had the little bitch on the back.
Yeah, I had the fucking open ass cheeks on the back of his leather.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember
that.
Yeah,
I was supposed to look like that guy. That was the look they were looking for. So they wanted me to mimic that look. So that's kind of where that whole, thing came from. And, I went and had it done and, came home and, my wife looked at me like, what the fuck? And once again, like looking back at it, just a rib. Take a decent looking guy and make him look like a fucking asshole.
How long were you the Master Blaster before they changed you up and switched you into the Oz gimmick?
We had the Clash of Champions, and then we went on the road. I was on the road for 5 days, came back, and the last day there we were supposed to wrestle in Hammond, Indiana, and I got up that morning, the guy that was my tag team partner just took off, went home.
He wigged out.
Just couldn't do it. So now I go to Hammond and I drive with Dutch and Sid, and I got no partner. So I looked there and Grizz, opening match was Al Green versus somebody. I don't know who it was. And Al Green, they walked over and grabbed Al and said, "You're gonna wrestle with this kid in a tag." This guy. So, we shook hands and went out there, and, Al was a much better hand than the guy that I had.
Right.
Al had been around a couple of years, so at least I had, the other guy was the fucking drizzling shits. I mean, they told me when they brought him in that this guy would, be able to, work the match, and you just come in on the heat until you weren't so green. Well, how we get down the first night and go over the match with Armstrong and Horner, and Jody says take an arm, and the guy, my partner, didn't even know how to take an arm, and I'm like, Jesus, man, we're fucked. So push forward. Me and Al, I think we got a win at Halloween Havoc against. I forget what they were called, but it was Armstrong and Smothers. I think they were the Southern Boys or something like that.
Yeah, Southern Boys, something like that.
Yeah, Southern Boys. So we got a win. We got a win over them in Chicago at Halloween Havoc. So we were kind of getting a little bit of a push. So we went in Christmas time and had a 2-segment match at Center Stage with the Steiners, and they were going to beat Al in the second segment with the bulldog off the top with Robbie's finish, and we're in the room, and Al says, "I think it's a little too soon to be beating us," and they asked me to excuse myself, and I left, and about 2 minutes later, Al came out and was shaking his head and went into the room and grabbed his bag, and he was gone. I said, "Fuck."
So you're all by yourself again.
Yeah, watch him go over and fucking erase the match to the fucking board. And I said, God damn, here I am with a fucking mohawk. He looked at me and fucking said, "Grow your shit out."
So I'm sensing we got I'm sensing we have a repackage here with Oz, and before we get to that, I'm gonna take care of a little bit more business and talk a little bit about Squarespace. And guys, if you're anything like me, you don't know jack squat about designing websites, but to be successful in today's world, you definitely need one. That's where Squarespace comes in so handy. Squarespace, an all-in-one platform that makes it easy to create a professional website, blog, portfolio, and online store. Squarespace includes hosting, analytics, 24/7 support, It even includes a free domain name when you sign up for a year. You start with clean, beautiful templates and then easily customize it to look exactly the way you want. Squarespace has a ton of drag and drop functionality. For example, if you want to add a picture, you add an image block and simply drag your image from your desktop to your site. Adding videos, text, audio, and other blocks of content is just as easy. Squarespace takes care of all the technical stuff so you can focus on making great content for your website. Last thing, with responsive design, your website automatically scales to fit perfectly on every device. Every Squarespace template has its own customized mobile view. It's $8 a month for the standard plan, $16 for their unlimited plan, and $24 for the unlimited plan in an online store. For a free trial, go to squarespace.com/Steve Austin or go to podcast1.com and click on the Squarespace banner on the Steve Austin Show page. Then, when you're ready to purchase, click Enter an Offer Code at checkout and use the offer code STEVE for 10% off. That's right, STEVE. Squarespace, everything you need to create an exceptional website. All right, coming back in, talking to Kevin Nash about the character change from Master Blaster, quickly segueing into Oz, and talk a little bit about Vinny Vegas. And we're going to start talking to the ins and outs of the business and some heavy-duty shit here. Master Blaster, short-lived. Here comes Oz. I remember seeing the pay-per-view when you debuted. You came out there, I mean, with that outfit on, you was about 8 feet tall, and you had this wicked goddamn mask on. You pulled it off, and you had your eyes wide open, and I was thinking, man, what the fuck is going on here? What were you thinking when you made that debut?
Well, I mean, didn't see the outfit or nothing until the day of, and they hand me this fucking deal, and it's just like, holy fuck, like another rib. I'm in a lime green outfit with a cape that weighs 200 fucking pounds. And they got I'm not only wearing a dunce cap, but I'm wearing a dunce cap with a rubber mask, and I'm going to pull an old man's face off and be me underneath it. Like, I think maybe Minotaur might have been the only thing that was any worse than that. I mean, just... I'm looking at that. I'm looking at that motherfucking outfit, going like once again, you know, back then it was, you know how it was, man. Fucking they didn't want anybody to play. They wanted everybody to quit.
But the rib was, I mean, when you got out on the road, you didn't have like a travel kit and maybe just wear the green shit. It was like a big 5x5 crate. I remember it. Oh, it was brutal.
I drag a fucking, it was a Rubbermaid fucking thing, and I had a fucking padlock on it, and, you know, I mean, the fucking thing must have weighed 75 pounds. And that was just my gear, let alone fucking, my clothes and shit. This just weren't wheels on shit back then.
Well, you know, there wasn't wheels back then, and why didn't that invention come around a little bit sooner? Because it could have saved you a ton of goddamn energy. You move from that, you into Vinny Vegas, and I actually enjoyed Vinny Vegas. It was kind of a piece of who and what you are. You're a funny cat,
right.
Take a lot of shit serious, but you don't give a shit about a lot of stuff. Kind of an endearing character. How was your time as Vinny Vegas?
I liked it because, I mean, that was the first time that I had any input into what I was going to be. And I got a chance to talk, and I got a chance to be a jack-off, and I got a chance to have some fun. During this time is when, the whole time Jim Ross was like the only guy that was kind of on my team.
Right.
And Jim was doing a wrestling radio show out of Atlanta. He'd do it on Sundays. And I was like a frequent guest of his because like he was one of the few people that would sit around and actually listen to me and say, well, shit, this guy's smart and he's funny, and I'll put him on the radio. Jim was always an advocate for me. I mean, he was the one guy I always had in my corner.
Right.
and which was a good guy to have. And you know, I mean, yeah, he's one of the few stand-up fuckers that are in the business. And, you liked it, you liked the character, and so did Shawn Michaels. Michaels would saw me a couple times. He called Robbie Steiner, said, "Do you think Nash can get out of his contract? I'd like to be my bodyguard." Because nobody was selling for Shawn in the WWF, and just jumped to it, man. I got a phone call from Robbie. They were in Green Bay, and he said, "Hey, can you get out of your contract?" I said, "Fuck yeah, I'll get out of it somehow." And I just drove the next set of TVs. I drove with Wyndham to Dalton TVs, and just looked out the window the whole time and didn't say a word. Just tried to do the work, and he bid it and said, "Man, you're not yourself. What's up?" I said, "My wife says she's going to leave me if I don't get out of the business." And he said, "Well, fuck, man, what are you going to do?" I said, "I got to get out of the business." He said, "Well, talk to Ole." Went and talked to Ole up at the WCW offices. Already had the offer to come to the WWF. Sat right there. Got a release from my contract from Ole. Walked right over. Walked to the fax machine, faxed that son of a bitch to Titan Tyler, to JJ, and I was in Albany, Georgia, or Albany, New York, 3 nights later, helping Shawn Michaels screw Marty Jannetty to get the Intercontinental belt on Raw the next Monday.
Well, before you left WWF, and that was all on the kayfabe, on the down low, but you and I had started traveling together and struck up a good friendship, and we had some goddamn interesting times on the road. Times were tough back then. We were making decent coin, but we certainly weren't making top dollar. And I just come from, making $15 to $20 a night, down in USWA, hooked up down there. And the deal, when you walked into WCW, you was already making some okay money. But because you and me are the people that we were and still are, we stayed. We made it a point to stay at the biggest shitbox hotels we could find as a rib to ourselves. One time we stayed in a little room, and it was remember that one door that didn't meet at the top? There's about a 2-3 inch gap because the door was too small on the hinges. You remember standing in that, son, Mitch?
Yeah. We stayed at some. Remember the one place we stayed at? It was like I swear it was called the Christmas Tree Inn or something like that. But we always the guy. The funny thing was, we're notorious that people probably don't realize this, but as a professional wrestler, there's no towels provided. So when you work and you're on the road, you've got to take a hotel from the towel from the hotel every night to have a towel to shower with when you get to the building. Well, all the top guys in WCW had these Marriott towels, and me and Steve would show up with this, threadbare and, shit towel that we had stole from some $19 a night motel.
We stayed at the worst hotels we could find, and we rented the shittiest goddamn cars. And I remember at one time we had rented a Chevy Corsica. Now, I'm going to tell the Mazda 929 story in a minute, but we rented a Chevy Corsica, and you was driving. And I didn't hardly let anybody drive me on the road because I just didn't trust anybody, but you were always a goodwill man, still are. And we were coming around a corner in Chattanooga, Tennessee in a Chevy Corsica. And you was kind of hauling ass in that road that kind of grooved up, and that somebody started skipping around the highway, skipping across the road. And I just looked at you, and I remember saying this damn near verbatim. I said, "Dude, I think you might have a little bit more confidence in this shit box than I do." I said, "Why don't you slow the fuck down?" You remember that shit?
Oh, fuck, it was white with fucking red interior.
Damn right. And then after about 6-9 months of that shit, we thought we hit the big time one time, and we made reservations on a Mazda 929. You remember that shit?
Picked that son of a bitch up and budget, and Marietta came out and picked you up. I mean, we were for leather. So I think it was the first time we ever had leather seats.
Like a couple of white pimps driving down. But see, now this is back in the day when the 929 had some fucking stroke, man. If you had a 929, you was semi big time. But God damn. You remember when we was driving down the road that night and we decided to cut the headlights off? You talking about some
first off,
stupid shit.
The beer consumption was pretty amazing between the two of us.
What was that?
I think our beer consumption was pretty amazing. I think the deal was, especially because we used to drive your Civic a lot too.
Yeah, I had a little Honda CRX, that little egg car.
Yeah, that little blue, it was blue, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's some bitch is sweet. I mean, for just you and I, it was perfect. Our gear was like we got good. Did that some bitch get like 40 miles to the gallon?
Yeah, it was insane. And then people didn't understand when they saw you walking up to the car that says, no way this big motherfucker's going to get in this car. But what they didn't realize was only a two-seater. You could put that seat way back, and you as comfortable as you would have been in a Mercedes.
Well, I think the deal was that you said when you pay for the gas and I paid for the beer, which was a fucking horrible deal. It's a horrible deal. I got fucked up.
The first time I ever got over on you.
We always had a couple of songs that we'd hear on the radio that we'd go buy the cassette and play it over and over a million times in the car. And we for some reason got that damn Janet Jackson cassette we were listening to that night in that 929. And we were listening to one of them songs that, some bullshit thing, and we're on a back road somewhere, and we looked at each other, and I don't know who made the decision. We're going to say how far we could drive at about 75 miles an hour with the lights off. Jeez, why? I guess because we're bored. Been out there too long.
I guess if we'd have crashed, your neck wouldn't be hurting right now.
Nah, hell no. Oh, well, we lived.
But we had some good times, and the thing about being on the road back in, and I hope it's still that way these days, was just the brotherhood aspect. A couple of cats getting in the car, and there was many times if you and me weren't traveling together, you'd get 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 motherfuckers in a car or van just because that's what you had to do to make the town because you didn't have any dough. You're splitting all the damn cost of gas and cramming guys in a room. And it was just all such a good time. And, the business was one of the highlights of my life. And to be sitting here talking to you all these years later, and both of us have been out of the business for quite some time, and you're still, casually in it, but to maintain some of the friendships is, obviously an important part of my life. And where we're going to pick up on the next Steve Austin show, we're going to start right with Kevin Nash when he enters WWF as Diesel, running with Shawn Michaels. We're going to talk about him, the Clique, the MSG curtain call. Can't forget about that. Guaranteed money down in WCW. How those guys changed the nature of the business. For Kevin Nash, this is Steve Austin on the Steve Austin Show, and I'll catch your ass down the road.
This concludes another podcast.